Hello. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We were giving a little bit of time for people to be able to arrive, understanding that some were coming from work, but we're going to go ahead and get started. It shouldn't take very long. We want to give everybody an opportunity to ask questions. I'm going to do most of it in English, but I will translate some of it in Spanish, and the presentation is in 2 languages. So very quickly, I'm going to say, voy a hacer la presentación en inglés, pero igual la presentación que tenemos adelante de nosotros está en las 2 idiomas y voy a tratar de hacer lo más posible en 2 idiomas y cualquier persona que tenga pregunta, por favor, no tenga duda en preguntar en cualquier idioma, nosotros lo podemos traducir, ¿ok? Primero que nada, muchísimas gracias por estar aquí, les agradezco la presencia, era importante tener todos los miembros de la comunidad acá, por eso estamos empezando un poquitico más tarde para darle chance a todo el mundo llegar. Voy a ahora empezar en inglés. I want to recognize very quickly as well the presence of Councilman Rafael Pinedo, who's here, he's in the back. And also, I'd like to recognize our city manager, Ray Valdez, and our city attorney, Lorenzo Covilla. Very quickly also, let me thank many of the community members that have been very active in this fight, have come to every single meeting, have organized chats, have made sure that the information has gotten around to our community and have advocated for this opportunity to remove the plant. And of course, I want to make sure everybody is recognized, but Selma, Sui, Odel, ¿dónde está Giovanni, Cesar, everybody that has been a big part of this, thank you for continuing to be present and continuing to advocate for this important position. Okay, so the reason... ¿Ustedes me oyen sin el micrófono? Thank you. Yes. I also want to quickly thank Doral Park Country Club for allowing us to use this space to be able to have this meeting. So thank you, Doral Country Club, and the board members that allowed us to use this space. I did, just for disclosure, personally, not from the city, personally pay for the lemonade and the sodas and the water and the coffee, just in case anybody says I'm using city resources. I'm not. I personally paid for it, but I'm going to go ahead and start. If we could go to the first slide. So as many of you know, the county held a meeting on September 17th to choose a location for the plant. That was the purpose of this meeting. This is not the first time I have a town hall meeting. Last time the county held a meeting, I immediately held a town hall after, because I believe it's really important to have communication with our residents to let you know what happened. I know it's hard to get to downtown, so for me, it's important to be able to host these meetings where you're able to easily access and have information. So this is not a random meeting I'm having after trying to do cleanup or anything. This is something I've consistently done after all the county commission meetings. So today we're going to discuss concerns. We're going to share information. We want to hear from you during this town hall. Next slide. A quick agenda of today's meeting. We're going to talk about the history of the plant very quickly. I'm going to give you a timeline of everything that has happened from the time the plant burned down to today. Muy importante, les voy a dar una historia de esta planta hoy día y también les voy a dar una cronología de qué ha pasado desde el momento que la planta se quemó hasta hoy día. I'm going to show you approved resolutions that we've passed. I'm going to show you the action items, what we've done, what I've done as well. I'm going to show you a little bit of the Miami-Dade County Board of Commission meeting from September 17th. We're going to discuss potential options. Les voy a enseñar un poquitico de la reunión de la comisión del condado de 17 de septiembre y vamos a hablar de opciones potenciales que tenemos nosotros ahora como comunidad. Then I'm going to ask you to get involved. How can you get involved? ¿Cómo se pueden involucrar? Y después lo vamos a abrir a preguntas, ¿ok? Y les quiero dejar saber que esta presentación la voy a mandar por email, ¿ok? Para que todo el mundo lo tenga. Okay, a little bit about the history. This plant that is in our city, the Incinerator, the waste-to-energy facility, was established in the 80s by Miami-Dade County. Over time, concerns from residents began to arise because of the emissions and the lack of maintenance on the county's behalf of this plant. Also, this plant was actually not built for what it was doing. It was retrofitted several times to become an incinerator. So it's a big problem. The plant was actually coming up for its permit renewals, which we had a lot of faith were not going to be renewed before it burned. A big key point to remember. In July of 2022, the Miami-Dade County voted to renew the lease for the plant in Doral for another 20 years. Where's Gummy? Sorry. Can you get me some water? Thank you. For 20 years. So this is important. This was before we came back. This was in July of 2022 before the plant caught fire. In February of 2012, the plant caught fire, okay? And obviously everybody experienced what happened during the fire. On March 7th, the county commission reopened the opportunity to explore sites again, okay, within outside of Doral, within Miami-Dade County, for a potential new site. So they commissioned a study, which was done by Arcadis, to look at these new sites. That was done on March 7th. And then now we're going to show you the timeline of what happened. Obviously, between February 12th and March 7th, a lot of things took place. We had press conferences, community meetings. We went out to see the fire, and the plant is now permanently closed in Doral. Next slide. Quickly, concerns from our community that we've had over the past years have been proximity to residents, environmental impacts. There's been a lot of discussions about the Everglades with the potential sites, air quality challenges in the sites that they've proposed, as well as insufficient space for development for the future growth of the county. They're saying that this plant could be the biggest plant in the United States because Miami-Dade County produces double the national average, okay? So we produce double the national average in trash. And the truth is, Miami-Dade County's population isn't going down. It's continuing to rise. Therefore, it's a big concern. There's a lot of talk about zero waste and all these things. And it's a great to focus and try and create a plan to get there. But the truth is that that's not going to happen anytime soon. Therefore, the county has to be able to come up with a plan and build something that will deal with our solid waste issues as a county. Next slide. So here's our timeline. So on February 12th, the incinerator caught fire, burnt down. Between that, obviously, you all saw the meetings that we had, the press conferences, trying to keep the community informed. March 7th was the BCC meeting where the commission asked for a new study for potential sites. In that meeting, I personally got 2 buses. Again, the city did not pay for this. I did it all as a resident of this community. I got 2 buses together to go to Miami-Dade County's commission meeting. We got t-shirts, we did text blasts. Again, none of it paid for by the city. I took it upon myself to do it. And unfortunately, only 12 people showed up to go on that bus. Who was there that went on the bus with us? A couple people were there that went on the bus with us. Councilman Pinedo, I think Cesar, Sui, were you there with the buses? You guys went in the trot. So we got 2 buses and only 12 people showed up to go with us to the county commission meeting. On March 8th, the city of Doral held its own meeting where we passed a resolution to encourage the commission to move the plant somewhere else. We also asked our administration at the time to hire lobbyists to help us lobby the county, okay? Because we all know that that's the way things work in these governments. So we hired lobbyists to lobby the position of the city. We also asked our administration to hire experts to review the studies to be able to advocate on our behalf. We also asked for expert attorneys to be hired to be able to defend the city's position. The resolution and everything was passed on that day with the full support of the council. On August 18th, the preliminary reports of the Arcadis study came out by the county. The mayor of the county, Daniela Levin Cava, recommended Airport West as the appropriate site for rebuilding the plant. That happened on August 18th of 2023, where her study came out showing that that was the best option for the county with also preliminary numbers. On August 28th of 2023, a workshop was held at the city of Doral. Do you all remember? Some of you came to that workshop with the county mayor, our county commissioner, as well as we were all there. And that workshop was to address the Arcadis report. Then on September 6th, the first BCC meeting took place. Some of us went. I've been to every single one of these meetings, by the way, as well as Councilman Rafael Pinero. I cannot say that about the rest of our council members, but we have been at every single one of these BCC meetings. And at that meeting, many of you came to. The Arcadis report was presented and it was accepted by the county commission. However, they made no decisions. They decided at that time to hear the item again on September 19th. Okay, which many of you may remember this meeting as well. On September 19th, we all went back to the county one more time together. We gave you all blue t-shirts, which I also personally paid for. I've paid for them multiple times. So we would all show up united. We would all show up with a purpose. We would all show up to advocate for our position as a city. At that meeting, they reviewed the report. Again, the county mayor gave guidance as to what her recommendations were. At that meeting, the county commission did two things. They recommended that the county mayor go out and find financial opportunities, private-public partnerships. No descualificaron nada. They basically said, go and come back with suggestions, limit the options to just Doral, Medley, and Airport West. And they said that they wanted us to negotiate with the county. So they asked Doral, they basically directed the administration of the county to negotiate with Doral a couple of things. That we would financially contribute to the move, and they gave us terms. 3.5% of the incremental value, 1 mile radius around the plant. They gave us rules to the game. They said, go and negotiate this. And we accepted that. And many of you that were there that day, remember I came out and I said, this is what they're offering us. What do you all think? Should I take it? Should I not take it? And everybody said, take it. And so we did. I said, let's go ahead and play the game. Let's see where we get. Because if we don't even put chips on the table, we're not going to even be in the game. They're just going to decide to put it in Doral. And I think that we need to try and negotiate as much as we can within the limits that are available to us to be able to make a decision. And so we did. We told the county commission, okay, I have to take this back to the council. I can't decide for everybody, but go ahead and pass this resolution and we'll start the discussions. And that's what happened. They approved in that meeting a resolution that asked Doral to contribute with some financial contribution with certain limitations. During that time, from September 19th, 2023, which is the last time the BCC met about this issue, to, you'll see the next meetings, which were this year, between August 2023 and October 2023 and August 2024, that's actually wrong, sorry. In August 2024, we did meetings with county commissioners all the time, multiple conversations, Zoom meetings. Our administration, all three administrations, because remember we had 3 city managers in the last 6 months, we've all met with the county commission. Our attorneys, also 3 attorneys, have met with the county commission administration. I mean, we have done everything they asked for. I personally, myself, again, not at the city's expense, personally, myself, paid for text messages to the community, asking you all to sign petitions. We've done numerous newsletters. I've held numerous town halls. I did it after the September 19th meeting where I presented what it would cost, how it would look like, the fee structure. And I didn't only do it in one community, I did it in several communities. So we have really done our best to try and advocate for the position of the city. I've met with multiple mayors. I met with the mayor of Miramar to try and come to an agreement. We obviously could not come to one because his thing is just put it back in Doral. I can't obviously agree to that. So we couldn't come to terms. But we have done many, many, many things throughout this entire time. And most importantly, go to the next slide. Most importantly, on September 3rd, 2024, I called a special meeting of the council to accept the terms of the county through a resolution. So everything that the county said on September 17th was false. Many of the commissioners, and they all know because they received the letter from my office, they received the letter from our city attorney's office with the resolution saying Doral is willing to agree to your terms, the terms you put in a resolution. We're willing to contribute financially. We're willing to even accept a transfer station in our city, which we had said was a non-negotiable for us. We're willing to talk about these things. We understand the implications, but it's more important to us the health and the quality of life of our residents than anything else. And so we were willing to make some type of contribution that was reasonable to the size of our city. The number we were kind of looking at with the percentages they had put on that resolution was about $40 million, okay, over 40 years. It was about $40 million, which is about $1 million a year. I'll pay that any day of the week, okay, for that to be out of our city. But there were certain conditions that we had, and all of those conversations were had multiple times with the county. So the county commissioners knew that Doral had been at the table and had been willing to negotiate. The only reason Doral had not made a final decision and we had not negotiated the terms of the contract was because the resolution the county passed in September of 2023 said that we had 60 days from the time they chose a location to come to an agreement with what they had offered us, because it was difficult for the city of Doral and unfair for the city of Doral to make a decision without knowing what location the county would choose. The county had not made a decision. You know what? It's not Doral's obligation to make the decision for them. It is not our obligation. It is their obligation to make the decision. And then we will negotiate. But you're not going to hold a gun to our head. That's not fair either. That's why we're here today. On September 16th, Daniela Lelivincava, one day before the county commission meeting, hosted a town hall. They announced it the Friday before. They had the town hall meeting. We appreciate that. It was great for everybody to be able to participate. And then on September 17th, many of us sat there for 8 hours. 8 hours waiting for the commission to deliberate and then ultimately just defer it and ask Doral to write a blank check. I can tell you many of us left there extremely upset. We felt like if someone had one of our kids hostage, okay? Because it was a ransom, is really what it was. And so that's why I decided to call this meeting today, just like I did after the September 19, 2023 meeting. I called a meeting to hear from you all, because at the end of the day, we are your stewards. We make decisions for you all, but you all have to be a part of those decisions. I'm not going to pretend to be able to make a decision like this without hearing from our residents, because that would be irresponsible. Because what they're asking us to pay right now is the delta of what it would cost to relocate that plant. We're talking about $400 million. And that's not even the final number, because we really don't know what the number is. Until they choose a location, we don't know the number. They're talking about pay the delta of relocating, pay the ongoing maintenance and operations of a transfer plant, pay the development of a transfer plant. I mean, might as well just give them the keys to Doral. Here you go, become a county again. Because it is unfair. Nobody paid us for the 40 years we dealt with that plant in our backyard. So, again, that's why we're here today, because I want to hear from all of you. I'm going to tell you what our experts are telling us, okay? And ultimately, the city council needs to make a decision, but I need all of you. I need all of you there. And you know what? This room should be double packed what it is today, with all due respect. Miramar held a meeting. There was 300 people there. They've never dealt with what we've dealt with. We've dealt with it for 40 years, and 20 for those who have lived here for 20 years. So I am appreciative of all of you that are here, but this room should be double packed if it's a concern to us, and especially for what the county is holding us accountable for, when it is not us. We did not choose to rezone the area around the plant to be residential. Now, I say this all the time. We were elected to solve problems we did not create, and I'm ready to solve that problem and to find a solution. And I think that we have done everything within our capability and authority to represent and advocate for you. But I want to hear from you. What steps would you like us to take next? I'm going to tell you what we think, but I think it's important to hear from you. So we'll go to the next slide. Very quickly, here are the resolutions the city has adopted in favor of moving the plant, of hiring the right people, and of accepting, this is the latest resolution, accepting the county's terms. Okay, so anybody who says, well, we haven't done anything, we have been very much active in this role and with this issue. You all saw this. This is the little timeline video of everything that's taken place. I'm going to email it so we won't waste time on it now. It was the video that was playing when you walked in. Here are some actions taken as well, okay? I just wanted to put it out in bullets in case anybody else had questions about it. Rented buses, paid for by Mayor Fraga. Created and printed t-shirts, paid for by Mayor Fraga. And by the way, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that I like things to be clear, since some people like to put out false information. Sending blast text messages, also paid for by by Mayor Fraga, because the city would not do it. Newsletters, I've sent out multiple newsletters. Created surveys and petitions, that was done by the city. Hired experts to defend Dural's position. At the last meeting, those of you who were there on September 19th, on September 17th at the commission meeting, we had several experts come up and speak. We had an environmental expert, I'm gonna put up his resume now, and we had experts that are a legal counsel from Gray Robinson who went up to speak on behalf of the city. We did that on purpose. We went to put it on the record, our position, in case we do take legal action. Now there's legal experts and environmental experts on record at the county commission meeting defending our position, as well as our entire legal team from the city and our city manager were present for the full meeting. We've passed multiple resolutions. We've held multiple community meetings. We've attended meetings with county commissioners independently. We've attended meetings with several city mayors, held meetings with facility operators and different technology options. Again, not my responsibility, but I've done it to be able to have a conversation with the county commissioners, to be able to educate them, to make sure that they make the best decision for all of us in Miami-Dade County. Held meetings with the county mayor and the administration several times. Multiple visits to the facility with county commissioners and state representatives as well as community leaders. Many of you were present for those meetings. Next. So this is John Truitt. He is from Gray Robinson. He is the legal expert we have hired to represent the city. His resume is quite impressive, but I think the biggest takeaway was that he worked for the DEP, right, Lorenzo? He worked for the DEP for many years, and he has a great viewpoint on how to defend Doral. He was at the county commission meeting on the 17th, so we did take action. We were prepared. We were better prepared than Miramar. All I did was I didn't publicize it to the world because I didn't want the county commissioners to know our strategy, but we did it. We had people there to be able to speak. They all spoke. We asked to hold our comments to the end of presentations so that our entire presentation was done together. All of our legal team spoke and presented and gave arguments in the 1 minute that they give us, because they give us 1 minute to be able to present, which is incredible. But we did. We had not only John, we had Lorenzo, we had Raul, all of our legal team. We had several attorneys from Gray Robinson speak. I think it was 3 attorneys from Gray Robinson speak on our behalf. Next. And we also had Mr. Thomas Erickson, who I believe is also a City of Doral resident. He was our environmental expert, okay? He worked at Covanta. He went and spoke on our behalf. He was also present at the meeting. He has reviewed the Arcadis report and is ready to defend the city's position. Okay, so we have taken action. We have made sure that your voices, that your position is defended. Next. So let's talk a little bit about the sites that have been recommended by the county, okay? So there's 3 sites, and I actually put the 4th site back up here, the Okeechobee site, because it is now back on the table for those who don't know. Yes, it is now back on the table. So it was taken off, now it's back on. So again, we just don't know. And it's not our responsibility to make the decision, but again, I have taken it upon myself, and every elected official should take it upon themselves in this community to make sure that we are informed, prepared, and ready to go and advocate. So site number 1, which is a site that the county mayor has recommended over and over again, is Airport West. Many reasons, which is 7.8 miles away. This is the current site, okay? Here is the Airport West site. So 7.8 miles. The reason why the county mayor has recommended this site over and over again, for those of you who have read the report or maybe have not read the entire report, is number 1, it's because of its size. It is 416 acres. It is the biggest site. It is owned by the county, okay? And it would allow for the county to grow into this campus that they now want to build, okay? So it is really meeting the needs of the future growth of the county. That is the number 1 reason why they're recommending it. Now, there's many challenges to that site. There's mitigation that needs to happen because there's wetlands. It is close to the Everglades, even though Doral is also close to the Everglades. You have the challenge of Miramar that has been advocating against it. It's a site that's very raw. They would have to go get the permits. So there's a lot of, concerns with the site, the distance from our civilized area of Miami-Dade County. It's outside the UDB, the urban development boundary. So there is issues with the site. No one is saying it's perfect, but it does meet all the necessary requirements to be able to obtain the permits and meet the needs of the county for long term, okay? Now, one of the issues with that site that they're saying is if they put it out there, they have to put a transfer station in Doral, okay? And I know that was a concern for many of us. It was a concern for me. I said, if I'm gonna pay, we have to pay to move this plant. I don't want any solid waste facility on this site because I'm still gonna have truck traffic. We're still gonna have potentially odor problems in the future. So if you're taxing our residents more than you're taxing everybody else, why should we still deal with this burden, with this issue? But we quickly learned with everything that they tried to do that it was gonna be impossible to get them to move the plant without the transfer site because of the distance, okay? So we even conceded to a site, to a transfer site on the current area, but asking them to make sure that there's proper buffering, that it has all the proper technology. I actually have scheduled to go visit several transfer sites so that we could get the best product, possible. Listen, I don't want a transfer site either, but it's kind of like at this point we have to pick what poison pill do we want in an essence, unfortunately. So, but that's the issue with Airport West. The next site, which is the current Doral site, right? That everybody keeps saying it's the easiest site. It's the least expensive. Well, just because it's the least expensive doesn't make it the best site. This site is 158 acres, so half of the site of the Airport West, okay? Challenges here, we believe, is the permits. We tend to have a very strong argument, or think that we have a strong argument against them being able to get the permitting in Doral. And I believe that the mayor knows that as well, which is why she's recommending Airport West. Because I think it's going to be very difficult if you look at all the air quality monitoring studies that were done. It's very evident that the Doral site is a vulnerable site for the permitting because of the air quality. Same as Medley, by the way. So we're going to talk about where we are with that too. But yes, Doral would be the cheapest. I would also argue that it's not going to be the fastest, because I think that we need to challenge it. So we would also tie them up in court just like Miramar would. So I would arguably say it is not the fastest site, okay? But is it the least costly? Yes. Yes, it is the least costly. But does it really meet the needs of the county for 50 years? Probably not. It's not gonna meet the needs of the county because the idea of doing a campus was to meet the future growth of the county. The next site is the Medley site, which is the one they sprung up on us last minute at the meeting on the 17th. The Medley site, which is just a mile away, right here, 1.5 miles away from the closest resident in Doral, or the current site. I think it's less than a mile away from the closest resident in Doral. It's like 0.75 or 0.5 miles, which is Grand Bay area. That site showed to have many problems as well when they did the study, mostly because of how expensive it was because it's owned by a private developer, and he wanted a lot of money. So now, for those of you that were at that meeting, they're saying that they want to renegotiate the terms of that meeting, of that proposal, and the developer is proposing reducing the cost, doing a land swap, kind of like the next one I'm going to talk about, but doing a land swap and even potentially building the operations, which the county mayor seems to be against. So they are exploring that currently, and I have a meeting set up with Lowell Dunn to discuss with him what he's offering, because he tends to think that site would not cost Doral anything. However, we don't believe it would solve our issue because of how close it is. Now, I will tell you this, okay? If they take it out of Doral, there's no truck traffic, we have no transfer station, and they move it, yes, it's less than a mile away from the closest resident, but we don't have to pay anything. It's something to consider. It is something to consider. Understanding that it's still going to affect a portion of our residents. But this would be a totally new plant, a totally new technology, nothing like what we had. I'm still not advocating for it, but I'm telling you, it's something that we need to consider. If the numbers make sense, if Doral doesn't have to pay, if we don't have a transfer site, which we don't, they don't need a transfer site if they choose that, it is something to consider. So we'll have that discussion as well. And lastly is the Okeechobee site, which also has tons of issues because it is the smallest. It would be, in my opinion, the fastest because the developer is offering to provide them the land with everything ready. The developer would provide them all the utility connections. The land would be ready to just build. They would just need to get the permits, which could take a couple years. They would still need a transfer site though, however, and they are still saying we would need to pay. So that's another issue. I have a conversation pending on that too. So these are the 4 sites. Next. Okay, so what I did was I took the Miami-Dade County meeting that was held on September 17th and I shortened it, okay? It's about 15 minutes. Do you guys want to watch it? No? Okay. I put it here in case you wanted to watch it. However, I also did another thing. Keep going. These are the 2 QR codes. I put them on my YouTube on a private link, okay? If you scan, this is the meeting highlights that I created, which is about 15 minutes. You can watch it at home. And it basically highlights the most important parts of the meeting, so you hear what every county commissioner said. And you can hear for yourself, if you did not come to the meeting, you can hear for yourself what they said about us and what they want us to pay. And this is the full part of the meeting. I cut everything else out, but only the part of the meeting where they discussed Doral at the end of the day. So if you want, I'm gonna make this, I'll leave this up at the end of my presentation. You can come up and scan it, take it home, and you can watch it from your house. And again, I'm gonna email this to everybody who's here tomorrow. Okay, good? I wanted to offer the opportunity to watch the meeting if you all wanted, but I couldn't cut any more than 15 minutes because there was a lot of conversation. All right, let's go on to the next slide. Okay, potential options. So basically we left the September 17th meeting saying, what do we do now? The county commission ultimately passed a resolution that they were going to host another meeting on November 6th. They're going to have another meeting on November 6th where they plan to make a decision. They asked the county mayor to come back again with all the negotiations with the private developers and all the different sites, but also they want the best and final offer from Doral. They want our commitment without having chosen a site. They want us to commit. They also asked Miramar if they wanted to pay. So they started bidding. It was like a bidding war. They put us to bid against each other. Totally unfair. Completely acted in bad faith. And they also said that Doral had not done what they had asked when Doral had done everything that they had asked. They changed the rules of the game in the middle of the game. You can't call foul if you change the rules of the game in the middle of the game because they changed the rules of the game. The resolution they passed in September of 2023 said we had 60 days after they chose a location to negotiate a deal. So we knew what we were working with. So we showed up ready with everything they asked for and more. We can either recommit to Miami-Dade County's proposal and say, hey, all we can do is your initial proposal. 3.5% of the incremental value, homes 1 mile around, 30 years, 40 years, and we'll allow the transfer site, or we don't. So we could either recommit to that, but the county commission, the chairman said there's 7 votes today to keep it in Doral if you don't pay the delta, if you don't pay all the money. He said it, it's there, está grabado, you guys can watch it. For those of you that were there and heard it. So this is taking a vote to leave it in Doral. That's my opinion. If I go back and we say, listen, we're only gonna recommit to what you already offered us, they may take a vote on November 6th to leave it in Doral. I want you all to understand that. Number 2, they want us to bond. Eileen Higgins said, bond the city, because if you don't meet the payments with your incremental tax value, then we want you to pay anyway. Well, how do I bond something that's not mine? How do I go to bond? How do I bond something? I don't want to own a solid waste facility. It's not my responsibility. So how do you legally bond something that is not ours? It's not a TIF. They would love to call it a TIF. It's not a TIF. Legally, it's not a TIF. A TIF is creating an improvement for your district or for your community. We're taking something out. We're basically paying for them to take away a problem. That's never been heard of. That's why when the county sent us the agreement, or they sent us the memorandum of understanding, the LOI, the letter of intent, it talked about an agreement, because it's not a TIF. Nothing has ever been done like this. It's not a CRA. There is no legal avenue for what they are asking us. We just have to make a contribution. We're basically just contributing to this issue. So I can't bond. And what am I going to bond? I don't know what it's going to cost. How do I go to the taxpayers and say, hey, taxpayers, I need $400 million. But by the way, it may not be 400, it may be 600. But give me the money because I have to give it to the county. It's unfair for our community, and legally it puts the city council in a bind that we cannot agree to. Okay? And number 3, which is our recommendation, or I should say it's been the recommendation of our legal counsel. The city has done this before, by the way. The city filed the Chapter 164 governmental disputes in 2006 against the Medley landfill, by the way. So this has been done before. And what this does, Chapter 164 in the state statute is a vehicle. It's a vehicle, a mechanism given to us legally to be able to sit and negotiate with the county. The scope is here. It is not the intent of this act to limit the conflicts that may be considered under this act, except that any administrative proceedings pursuant to Chapter 120 shall not be subject to this act. Pursuant to State Statute 164.1041, this act shall apply to a minimum to governmental conflicts arising from any of the following issues or process, including but not limited to sitting of hazardous waste facilities, landfills, garbage collection facilities, still disposal sites, or any other locally unwanted land issues. Solution. Okay? So, thank you, Lorenzo Govilla, please. This is our city attorney who found this and said, this is what we need to do. Let me finish, and then we're going to take questions, I promise. You want me to say this in Spanish? Okay. So, básicamente, nuestra recomendación o la recomendación de los expertos legales es que filemos un Chapter 164 Governmental Disputes, que básicamente es un vehículo en el Estatuto de Florida que nos permite sentarnos cuando hay una disputa entre gobiernos y literalmente en el estatuto nombra que es para problemas como con desechos, problemas hazardous, no sé cómo decirlo en español, problemas peligrosos, es para nosotros poder sentarnos. Le voy a pedir a Lorenzo un minutico que suba a explicarles un poquito mejor, to explain very quickly what this means, and then I'll go on, and why he's recommending this. But there's other things happening. The county already reached out to us to have a conversation because they were basically told by their commission, administration, meet with Doral and get a response. Tell them to give you the blank check. Lorenzo?
So the idea behind this, and I've spoken with different council members and individually, and with the mayor with regards to this particular act. And the mayor's right. Kind of what the commission did to us at the last meeting was beyond unjust. It was, almost semi-criminal, telling us that we have to come up with an amount that is 3 times, 4 times the amount of the city of Doral's budget. And without really giving us a site, without giving us real numbers, just saying, come with a check and try to negotiate. You got, until November 6th. So the idea is to try to see what we can do to bring them to the table. I think they have caught somewhat wind of this. And they've scheduled a meeting with us on Friday. Nevertheless, we are preparing everything that we need to do on our side to negotiate and bring them to the table and get a solution that is in the best interest of the city of Doral. This is one mechanism that we've discussed. We'll be discussing it more in the coming days. We have meetings that are being scheduled with the council and with the mayor, and that's something that we really need your support. I agree with, and I echo with what the mayor said. One of the reasons why I think the commission waited to the very last minute and waited to the end is the amount of people, the sea of green shirts from Miramar that were there, that really unfortunately dwarfed some of our blue shirts. But you guys can change that. You know, we ask you to increase the amount of blue shirts out there so that the commission also hears your voices. At the end, the residents of Miramar are not their electors. You are. You are their residents. You are Miami-Dade County residents. So that's important.
Lorenzo,
and we need your support.
Can you talk about the time frame on the chapter 164?
Absolutely. Regarding the chapter 164, when it's invoked by the city, what it requires is for the commission to meet with our administration within 30 days. They seem to be putting the accelerator because we're going to be meeting with them pretty soon. Once they do that, then within 60 days, both governmental bodies have to meet together. So it sets certain shot clocks for them to have to be able to meet with us, and it creates a framework for them to be able to negotiate both on equal footing. And I think that's important. Do you want me to say it in Spanish?
Yes, please, if you're going to offer, por favor.
No, lo que acabo de explicar básicamente es que este es un mecanismo, el Estatuto 164, para poder que el condado y la ciudad se reúnan y trata de buscar algún tipo de compromiso sobre el sitio del Incinerator, ¿no? Del quemador de basura. Lo que sucedió en la última reunión de la comisión fue criminal, ¿no? Nos pidieron pedir $400 millones, que es básicamente cuatro veces la cantidad de presupuesto de la ciudad de Doral. Algo que
es injusto.
Es totalmente injusto y no necesariamente eso, también que nosotros no sabemos el sitio, no sabemos la cantidad de dinero que realmente esto va a costar a los ciudadanos de residentes del Doral. Así que nosotros necesitamos algún número, necesitamos una forma de poder negociar con ellos. Y por eso hemos hablado de este mecanismo. Yo creo que ellos nos están escuchando, porque ellos ya nos han pedido una reunión, nos vamos a reunir con ellos en los próximos días, como el Consejo también y la alcaldesa, nos vamos a tener otra reunión en la próxima semana. Lo que acabo de mencionar, que es importante que todo el mundo se involucre y que haya una ola, ¿no? de colores azules que se acerque a la comisión para que hagan sus deseos escuchados. Ahora, acerca de los tiempos, esto lo que requiere es que dentro de 30 días haya una reunión entre las administraciones de la comisión del condado y la ciudad. También dentro de 60 días que haya una reunión de los dos cuerpos de gobiernos. Así que esto es algo que estamos explorando, va a ser discutido más y necesitamos el apoyo de ustedes.
Gracias, thank you, Lorenzo. Espérate, we'll do questions in a minute. Okay, so just hold your questions. I promise we're getting right there. So just to add to this, okay, this is not necessarily a lawsuit. It's basically like doing it the nice way first. If this doesn't work and we don't come to an agreement, then we can file the lawsuit. But it also shows a judge, for example, or even any agency that we have to ask for permitting, that we tried the nice way, that we tried the best way possible to negotiate with the county on good terms and in what was more viable for our community. Because technically right now with what they decided, there is nothing we can do. In my opinion, what they did was to be able to come back on November 6th and say, well, since Doral didn't offer to pay anything, then we're just going to put it in Doral. And basically, they want Doral to make the decision for them, okay? And that's not fair because we have acted in good faith. We have gone above and beyond what we should have done. We've done more than anybody else has ever done in 20 years in fighting for this matter, okay? So that is the truth of where we are today. Move on to the next slide. Okay, so very quickly, how to get involved. On September 30th, I have called a special meeting at 5 o'clock because for the city attorney to take this action, I need the support of the city council. So I need the votes of the city council, a minimum of 3. We need to be able to vote to direct our team to move forward with this action. No matter what, even though the county has now reached out to us to meet, we need more protection as a city. And Chapter 164 gives us that protection. It does pretty much the same thing, but it gives us a layer of protection under this statute. So we need the council to approve moving forward. That's where you all come in. I need you all at this meeting. Send emails to the city council, okay? Because already some are saying they may not show up. We need the council to show up. This is not a game. We're not playing politics with this. This is not a game. This is reality. This is what affects our lives. This is what we've been fighting for 20 years. This is our moment. This is not a time to be playing. So I need all of you to help me with that because we need to move forward with this. It is extremely important for our position with the county that we move forward with this option. Unless somebody else brings another option, but I think our legal team and even the attorneys from Gray Robinson that we've hired have recommended that this is the best course of action to take before filing a lawsuit. This is the best course of action to take before filing a lawsuit. So, and I didn't come up with this, guys. Yo no me inventé esto. This came from the experts. I did not call the meeting because I just wanted to, or I was not trying to put on a show. I'm trying to do the right thing for our community. That is what this is about, okay? What we've always wanted to do, the right thing for the community, protect our residents. That's what we're doing here. So we need you to come to that meeting. Miami-Dade County has called a special meeting for November 6th on this item. We don't know yet if that will take place. If Chapter 164 is filed, that may be delayed. And that's kind of also what we're trying to do so that we don't show up to that meeting, don't have a negotiation, and now they choose to put it in Doral. So it's extremely important that you guys stay up to date. Subscribe to my newsletter. Follow me on social media so that you have all the information, so that you know when we're meeting, so you know when the town halls are happening. Please make sure to share the information. And we have survey cards for you. So before you go, please come and fill out one of these survey cards. They're in Spanish and in English. Okay, esto es como una encuesta que estamos haciendo. Queremos escuchar de ustedes. We want to hear from you. So please, before you go, come and fill one of these out. All right? Bueno, that's it. Ahora vamos a llegar a las preguntas, ¿ok? Voy a empezar por aquí, voy por aquí, para allá, para aquí, para allá, para tratar de cubrir todas las personas posibles. Sí.
Sí.